Welcome to the Big Four Accounting Firms podcast, brought to you by big4accountingfirms.com. Today's podcast, I wanted to discuss a recent article from Financial News of London that summed up EY's consulting practice that's going to break off and the potential struggles that they face. And I really liked the specifics that this article had, and they interviewed a lot of specialists in the industry regarding the history of the Big Four and their consulting practices and the potential future of EY's consulting practice. And they also said that EY is trying to raise $11 billion through the IPO, and that they're also going to take on $13 billion of debt to fund the transaction. And I think it's there's also a lot of information around the history of the Big Four accounting firms doing this, specifically Sarbanes-Oxley, and how previously the accounting firms broke up before. And EY sold their consulting practice to Capgemini for $11 billion. And you see it took EY to grow that from $11 billion to, it went all the way back to zero and then up to $25 billion. It took them about 20 years to do that. And so now they're going to try to build that consulting practice after they IPO up to compete with the likes of Accenture and Bain and other consulting firms. And this also talks about how Accenture broke off from Arthur Andersen, and they now make in excess of $50 billion a year. And it also talks about how after Accenture broke off from Arthur Andersen, they rebranded and they spent several hundred or just over $100 million rebranding, and how EY is going to spend a similar amount to rebrand their consulting firm, but it's going to be it's going to be more, but EY declined to comment on how much more it will be. But being that was just about 20 years ago, I'm sure it's going to be considerably more. And because they're a much bigger firm than Accenture was back then, but now Accenture is way bigger. And Accenture is almost making as much money every year as Deloitte does. And so EY's consulting partners are hoping that a similar thing happens here. And there's a whole bunch of experts in here that are quoted saying that EY is going to face a lot of issues because they were an established brand as EY. Now they're not established, and there's a partner that's quoted in here saying that most of EY's consulting business is recurring, like 90+%. That seems really high to me, but if that's what they say, then I guess that's what it is. And so them changing from EY to something else is, I guess the people in this article are saying that maybe that will diminish their revenues for a while. And the other thing I like about this article is it references the potential downturn in the market, and IPOing into that market and winning work in that market in a soft economic market is going to be really hard for EY. And I do believe that is true. So that's something else that I liked about this article. And then I think also this article shows how the Big Four previously sold off their consulting firms and they regrew it. And I think that's what's going to happen again. And another thing that this article referenced was talking about how EY has a bunch of US IPO clients, significant amount more than the previous year, like 59 more. They had 101 IPO clients. And it's kind of a non sequitur in this article, but I think they brought up a good point, because this is what Carmine DeCibio also brought up in the webcast, is that EY has a lot of potential with private equity clients. And what I think what they mean by that is they have a lot of potential with early stage companies, and they're trying to sell these companies certain technology consulting packages, and that's what this BNS article talks about. And so I think EY has established a product and a pipeline a suite of tools that they want to sell to these early stage clients, but they can't do it because they're conflicted out by their audits of technology companies. And so I think that's another big reason they want to break off like this, is because there's easy money to be made. Like, they've identified a product, like basically a group of products that they want to market to these companies, and to them it's like shooting fish in a barrel. And so they don't want to leave all this money on the table. And I think that's another big reason they want to do this, because it's going to be an easy growth in revenue for them based on this product and this group of clients that they have now. I think these group of clients are begging for these products, or they see that all of them have this need. And the article references that a little bit, and then they're saying that technology and consulting sector was worth $350 billion last year, while the professional services market was 1.1 trillion. So I think E&Y Consulting sees all this easy money that they're leaving on the table, like probably consulting work that they don't even have to try hard on. It's just products that they actually have to put in front of their client and implement themselves, but they can't because of conflicts of interest. So I'm guessing that that's a huge market there that they can tap into, and they have the client base to do it, and they just need to give them these products and the implementation. So we're getting more and more details about this E&Y split up, about the consulting practice and the potential there. And there's just a lot of interesting pieces to this. And I think there's a lot of implications for people that work in E&Y, whether they should stick around. Honestly, I think you're going to see a lot of people leave during this time period. But we can discuss that further in another podcast. Just wanted to go over this interesting article and the implications and the history surrounding consulting firms as they relate to Big Four accounting firms. So that's the podcast for today. Make sure to subscribe to this podcast to get future updates and insights, and check out the show notes for useful links. Thanks for listening.